hope you're enjoying my dad's videos. Make sure to share this video with family and friends, like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified for all my dad's new videos. My social media will be tagged down below so you can follow it. And just remember, Jesus loves you.
Hi guys, just one little factor here before we start this video here today. If for any reason my YouTube channel gets taken down, which could happen because we're challenging the deep state and we're challenging the powers behind the scenes. But if it does get taken down, I'm going to share the link below here. We have a website, drcharlieward.co.uk, and you can subscribe on there to our updates and our newsletters, etc., that are being produced by Lee Hemington. But you'll be able to keep in touch with what's going on. So at the moment, everything is nice and smooth. But if for any reason we get taken down, you simply go to my website, drcharlieward.co.uk, and register there, and you'll get all the information as to where we are or where you can view our videos.
Okay, hi. I'm here. We're waiting for Mel to get on, Mel K, and I'll give you some news that's very hot right now.
Okay.
I reported that we were going to do this 6 months ago. They're releasing the Brucella bacteria. Have you heard of that?
No.
It's Brucellosis, Brucellus bacteria.
Okay.
It is being injected into frozen food. There she is. There you are. There's Mel. It's being injected into frozen
Hi, Mel.
Hi.
There's Mel. Okay.
I'm on.
We got you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Finally. Okay. Okay, let me finish this and I'll introduce you to Mel. Okay, so we have them injecting our food supply, especially the frozen food, especially meat, especially dairy, with the Brucellus bacteria. And that is going to make you very sick and have the same symptoms as COVID-19. That's been reported I reported this 6 months ago that they're going to do this. Now they've done it. So if you're in the United States and you're buying frozen food, you better cook that meat very, very well. And you better not have any dairy because that's been injected and infected, okay? Number one. Number two, Facebook has done their purge and they're now becoming a complete publisher. They're not a platform anymore. So if you're smart, you would come on to my inkedsocial.com, what is it called, rightsocial.net, and join us. And let me introduce Mel, okay? You know about Jean and you know about Mel. I always try to find talent that has a higher IQ than I do and is more intelligent. So I found Mel on Twitter. She's been following me for a while and I'm like, wow, this girl is way smarter than I am. I need to get her to do some programs. She does a deep dive and she also basically has worked for interesting people like Chelsea Handler, which she'll talk about. And she also worked for Donald J. Trump. So she's an insider. She was an actress, and now she's an author that I see that she's written a new book. She's a total genius. All I have to say is, if they take over, we have Mel on Sundays at 11 a.m. We have Jean on Thursdays at 1 p.m. And then I just got George Webb, who is amazing.
Oh,
and he contacted me. So if I have the three of them, I could basically disappear into obscurity and no one would even know. So there you go. Here we have Mel K, and she's an impulsive woman on Twitter. And if you watch our Q digs, we just did number 13. She is amazing. She's a Hollywood insider. She can tell you everything you need to know about Ray Chandler, the NXIVM sex cult. We did all of that. We did an expose on that predator, Alyssa Milano, that's on the Epstein flight log. So have the day. I'm going to speak less today.
Hi,
No,
Mel.
go ahead.
No, just saying hi. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
I managed to find your Facebook page, which has a lot of your contact details of where you are and where to find you. I found
Yeah.
it there just now when I just simply went on there to try and find out, because I've had a crazy, you probably know I've had an absolutely crazy few months. I started off this journey 4 months ago with 37 subscribers. I'm just doing a little chat when I was out for my morning walk, and it's grown to 143,000 in no time at all, which is amazing, unbelievable. But yesterday, as an example, I landed up doing 8 Zoom calls, and I was in the office for 15 hours. So I said to my man, "You got to slow this down a bit, because my wife needs to see me once in a while."
Yeah.
Well, I found you, I guess, around that time when you came. It was such a welcome change, because you came out as like a voice of reason, but also with like humor and honesty. And I when I started watching you, I was so relieved. I felt like a sense of calm. It was the first time in 2 years of following everything that somebody came on and said, take a step back. Let's look at this from a different perspective. And you're so much more positive than what had become. Because over the years of Q and the unfolding of the plan and Trump and everything, it became uglier and uglier within the community. People became more and more combative. I don't know why anyone would fight each other when everyone's just trying to get the truth out. But then you came along, and it was like a voice of reason in a mess of people starting to take things personally. The one good thing about you is you don't get emotional. I mean, you get emotional to the point of not being, hysterical. And when you came out, I was like, oh, thank God, somebody I can listen to that's not going to be all negative and doom and gloom and when's it going to happen and da, da, da. So thank you, because it's been a big help.
It's amazing how people expect everything to happen immediately. And there's absolutely no sense of patience.
100 years we have to unravel immediately. And as you know, I'm in Manhattan, and what I've seen is just so. First of all, I've been wanting to kind of talk about what nobody's talking about, which is all roads lead back to the UN. And I'm in the belly of the beast. I literally live 6 blocks from the UN. And when I started looking into everything and following the drops, but also my dad was in the Coast Guard for 20 years. My brother-in-law is right now deployed in the Army. He's 29 years. I worked at Mar-a-Lago when I was a kid, when I was in college. So, I've really been invested the whole time. But as things started unfolding, I did more and more looking into these think tanks and the UN, the CFR, Trilateral Commission, Rockefeller University, etc. And it's, as we know, it's all basically the same people. It's about 300 names that are interchangeable, and they're all involved in all the same stuff, and all roads lead back to the UN.
Yeah.
So when I look at what's going on in Manhattan, I think, well, we're in the belly of the beast, because quite frankly, the UN, what they've done, and I wanted to talk to you, Charlie, about this. I've always been very interested in, I was a big fan of Hannah Arendt when I was in college, and she wrote Origins of Totalitarianism, 30 years ago. And it's this evil, it's this permeating evil that we've allowed to come in under the guise of philanthropy and doing good. Kirsten and I did a show about the Good Club, which was when Bill Gates gathered with the usual suspects, Soros and Turner and Oprah and Bloomberg and the Rockefellers and Bronfmans, and they all got together and decided there were just too many people on the planet in 2010. So like we always say, symbolism will be their downfall. They've never hit it. And the more I looked into it, and I found that the spiritual body behind the UN is the Lucis Trust, which used to be called Lucifer Publishing, which is exactly what it sounds like.
Exactly.
And we're still the publishers for the UN.
Yeah.
And, I think people are so adverse when they hear the word evil. they back away, like there's no evil. We're like, evil doesn't exist. Well, yes, it does. And unfortunately, we've been sold evil through philanthropy.
Yeah.
Oh, the Rockefeller University can't be bad people. The Gates Foundation can't be bad people. Whatever. The UN is for good. No, the UN is for world domination. And part of the defund the police is part of their plan. This has been 20 years worth, and they got between the Rockefeller, Carnegie, the think tanks, Council of Foreign Relations, it's all the same people, and they've all gotten their claws into the youth that are now the teachers, that are now the Antifa. But this was part of the plan. So, I really am shocked when I learned about the meditation room at the UN and how they go by a doctrine that is anti-God. Mm-hmm. So, and like you've said, Charlie, and I know I say it a lot, it's like, you don't have to be smart to Google it, or not Google it, go somewhere else. You don't have to be smart to do that. Just do a little digging into the whole climate change thing. This was started in World War I. Mm-hmm. This nonsense that the problem on the planet is the human. Yeah. The problem on the planet is God. Mm-hmm. And, what people don't notice is there's no reference to God anywhere at the UN, anywhere. No. And, I'm just curious, does even the EU, the nightmare that is the EU is run by the UN. Yeah. The UN runs the World Health Organization. And then the biggest problem is, I think it's like this where you are too. I know you're in Spain now, but where you grew up is, we've been told that if we don't follow the UN or believe in that climate change is more important than humanity and all of that something's wrong with us. Yeah. And I'm at a point where I cannot believe that the UN still exists. It's really a nefarious place over there. And it's not surprising that, as Kirsten just brought up about the famine, I was reading some quotes and I saw Rockefeller, who is basically the UN, finances the UN, finance the UN. It's similar to like Rules for Radicals, but it's their Alice Bailey 10 rules for living. And that's what the UN follows. And basically it's mass depopulation, like all of their other stuff. And it's not really that different. Well, honestly, that Alice Bailey, who runs the Lucis Trust and didn't hide. And the person that she learned from was the person who came up with the entire eugenics, Aryan race theory that Hitler espoused under the name of cleansing, So I don't know. I feel like, why isn't anyone looking at the UN, do you think?
It's, for me, I've for the last 10 years, I've been moving money around for a lot of people. And I get pulled in to look at certain things. Very, very often I'll be taken to see funds that are in UN stamped boxes, Red Cross, UNICEF, etc., etc., etc. And this is all money that's, before Donald Trump got into power, we had to get consent from the American authorities to move it, because it doesn't matter if you're moving it from Africa to the Middle East. The US dollar belongs to America. It doesn't matter. It's not going through America. Prior to Trump, there was never any questions at all. You could pick up the boxes, take them. We had people that would put them straight into the bank and they'd be transferred out to certain accounts of these people, nearly all politicians, but they certainly weren't. It certainly wasn't being used for the reason that it was coming in. And I have many, many, many videos on my phone of boxes with Red Cross and UNICEF and all these organizations where they've basically been taken away and not used. Now, it's very, very clear that the money for Haiti never arrived there from the Clinton Foundation. We know that. Also, what's happening now, that all this Black Lives Matter money that was created, set up by the Clinton Foundation and George Soros, not a single penny has been spent on black people. Not a penny. It's all gone to Joe Biden's campaign. And when will people wake up to this? It's going on today as we speak. But it's not happening with the Trump campaign. It's happening with the Democrats campaign.
Right.
And there is still tons and tons of boxes of money. Interestingly enough, all of this cash that's come from America prior to Donald Trump getting into power was sent by somebody. Nobody owns up to who it's come from. It's come from the Americans. It's come in the guise of aid. And they have a wonderful way of one box for the country, one box for me attitude in Africa. And then you'll probably find that when the half goes for the country, that gets split up again when it goes to another location. It gets watered down, so nothing really ever gets through, which is very, very sad.
Right.
Well, the Democrats get 20% kickback all the time whenever they send money overseas. That's their kickback. 20% when they get their book deals, they get 20% back from all the money that Obama gave to the book publisher for the books on what is that weird
Pearson
math, whatever
Publishing.
you want to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Well,
they
they
get-
rewrote
That's
the
not
books.
charity. That's not charity.
No.
I've always said if your expenses are more than 8%, then you're in the realms of business rather than charity.
Right, right. Well, also the Gates Foundation. I don't know how this happened with him. I mean, I do. You can trace it back to the Rockefellers. He's the biggest donor to the Lucis Trust.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why don't people look? The man, it says it out loud. He thinks that there's 15% too many people on the planet. And, as soon as I saw the COVID coming in, from day one, I was like, oh, here they go. But, people, it's just, there's cognitive dissonance. It's these people have been told all this time, like you said, Bill Gates donated all these Microsoft laptops to schools all over. Oh my God, he's so great. Well, those laptops came with a price, and the price was you champion Bill Gates and his directives, and that's the exchange. But the American people were told, no, he's such a good man. And now when we look and see who was propping him up, we see Oprah, we see the New York Times, and then we find out that Gates has been paying a lot of the media to hide things. And, his father was a big eugenicist and then running his thing. And the truth is, they still believe that they are superior. They are the superior race. And, the bloodlines of the CIA drop about the bloodlines of the Illuminati. People say, well, no, really, these people are all connected, and so is he. And the worst part is that I saw right when the COVID started, I'm in New York, and first of all, they didn't shut down anything till very late in New York City. Even 2 months in, the subway's still running and the buses. But then we're watching TV, and Cuomo comes on, and he says, he's being joined by Bill Gates and Eric Schmidt to reinvent New York City, okay? First of all, they reinvented Common Core to dumb down our kids, so all they do is repeat what they're told rather than have any need to use any logic or research or insight. They're just taking tests. So everyone just kind of ignored that because Common Core and Microsoft computers were helping the kids. Well, look at the kids now. They're burning down the cities. This isn't Black Lives Matter burning down the cities. These are like gamers, kids that were manipulated by Hollywood, especially games. I think people aren't paying attention. If you look at some of these kids, like the Parkland shooter or any of the shooters, false flag shooters, they all were addicted to video games. Video games, a lot of them produced by Frank Gustra and Lionsgate Entertainment. And, about me, I actually went to NYU for journalism and then for film. I actually believed in Hollywood, and not Hollywood the place, in the actual craft of filmmaking, and I wrote a lot of screenplays and worked on a lot of shows. And it took until I was like in my mid-30s to turn around and be like, I see who they're hiring. They're not hiring the most talented people or the people who went to class and spent thousands to learn their craft and still work every day, make $100 a day being a PA on a movie that has $100 million budget, work 6-7 years in the DGA just to get enough credit to be able to direct your own film. These aren't the people who were being hired in the last 10, 15 years in Hollywood. What happened, I believe there was a big push about 20 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, to blur the lines. And at that point, talent was no longer important because true talent, true craft is looking for universal messages that, make people think or evolve. Or my hope was always at the end of a movie I'd make, people would stop and think different about something that they felt they knew. And now we're at a place where, people aren't willing to go against the grain and even question Bill Gates, even question it. And then when I see that Eric Schmidt from Google is a serious, not only was he working with China against us and all of that, but they believe in that transhumanism. And in the dark of night during COVID, suddenly Bill Gates and Eric Schmidt are going to reinvent New York City. Like, we don't need to be reinvented. And they're going to reinvent it with the Green New Deal. And what I think is going on here is they're trying to get every person that can afford to leave New York City out. It doesn't make any sense because it's also if you saw the neighborhoods where it's happening, it's very strategic. This is about clearing out the city to, in my opinion, Bill Gates and Eric Schmidt are big with the smart city surveillance, and then we were talking about how Bill Gates wants to put pollution between, it's so stupid, but it's real, wants to put pollution between the sun and the earth to mess up photosynthesis, to launch it's not funny, but it's funny because it's real. He wants to start a famine, so when all the meatpacking plants started coming down with COVID, I was like, oh no, here they go. So, my first thing was, it's the same people. It's the same people. And if it's not them, it's their children or their grandchildren. And what's where we are now is we have, I think it's probably 20% of the country still believes that Obama was all good, and they don't even know why they don't like Trump. Trump didn't need to do this. He did this because, like us, he had a voice and he could use it, and it was worth it to him. Like, people say to me, how are you ever going to go back to Hollywood? And I think there is no Hollywood. Hollywood's over. The myth that was Hollywood is over. And even if we haven't seen the arrests and stuff, what I got disgusted by, not to babble on, but when this all went down, the Screen Actors Guild had like a online meeting with Adam Schiff and about COVID, and then it was Nancy Pelosi, and I'm thinking, oh my God, they own Hollywood, and then all the celebrities coming out, as we know, you put them up against, the Child Defense Fund or any of these charities supposedly to help children, and you see, it's all the same people. They're all the same people. And, I feel like they've gotten a hold of New York, and our mayor and governor are absolutely not calling the shots here. Right?
Yeah.
So when I look at New York City and I think, and some people are playing it down, it's lawless. Cops can do nothing. I walk by cops, I feel bad. I'm like, thank you, so sorry. That's what it's like. And the murders that are going on here are black on black crime.
Yeah.
It's not, that is what it is. And then Cuomo puts up some kind of thing on one of his daily propaganda shows that murder rates are up and 95% are black and brown people. Well, how many percent are the people killing people?
Yeah.
All. So, like you said about Black Lives Matter, if they were helping, right, then they would be up there, helping. They're not even going into the Bronx. They're not going into the bad parts of Queens. They're letting it destroy itself. And, I'm kind of in New York being like, what can we do?
One thing that was made very, very clear to me right at the start of this was that Donald Trump was going to have to let some pretty awful things happen so that people would understand how evil these people are. He said, because they said to me, if he was just to tell people, people would think, number one, he was a dictator, and number two, he was talking absolute shite. So the reality is he's having to let these evil people do what they're doing. And one thing that absolutely shocks me, because I believe in God, God chooses who's on this planet. He gave us life and he can take it away. For somebody to try and play God to take people's life away, there's only one winner on that one, and it's not going to be Bill Gates.
Right, and exactly, and Bill Gates is playing God. But then you look at also, I mean, you have children. Look at MTV basically put on last week a brainwashing satanic show that was all anti-God, and that's what I'm saying about the UN. The UN's philosophy, spiritual philosophy, and this arcane school, just like, then this is similar with NXIVM and Scientology and anything having with the Church of Satan, but it happens to also be the philosophy at the UN. And we're letting these UN criminals, that area in Manhattan, we could have, if de Blasio and his wife didn't blow $850 million given to the mentally ill and homeless with no accountability, we could have used that land for mental hospitals and for housing and all that. The UN is, to me, they are preaching Satanism. They are preaching, and you know, like LeBron James and all these corporations, especially in Hollywood, turning around saying that there's an issue with race in Hollywood. You can't get hired in Hollywood right now if it's not an urban script or a cast with very few white people. I mean, or unless you're, yeah, it's just, this whole diversity thing is a myth, just like that humans are the problem on the planet, or there's too many humans. Israel was a desert. If they wanted to, the depopulation is a lie. It's their idea of wanting a superior race. Still, it's the same people as the Nazis. It's the same mentality, and it's being run out of the UN. And like you're saying, people are donating to UNESCO and to the Red Cross and to all these charities that Soros, Open Society, these charities want those same people dead.
Yeah.
You know, they want a superior race of just them. They're Committee of 300, they're Bilderberg pals, and then they just want workers. Yeah. And that's a choice. And people are refused, I think people just refuse to believe in evil, even though it's all around you.
Yeah.
You know,
so people are blinded.
Willfully, because it's clear. Like you're saying, we've done the work. We know that if these donations to Black Lives Matter don't care about Black lives. Right. What have they done in Chicago since this started back with Ferguson? Nothing. It's gotten worse. It's gotten worse and worse. And then Soros is buying the politicians. And the Council of Foreign Relations is telling universities what to teach. They're rewriting history. And in the meantime, Donald Trump is being blamed, when it's like, when I worked for them, I was much younger. But I got to know these people inside. I worked in their home. It's like every day. The man knew everyone's name, from like the lowest gardener to the executive assistant, and would say, how did your family? You know, they'd know your birthday. They'd invite your family to come once a month for Sunday. The kids are my age, so I knew them. I knew when I was at NYU, I knew Ivanka. These are good people. And what they've done to them, look, you might not like how he speaks, but I'm telling you, in person, you'll think it's funny.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's his problem, is that he's very witty and funny. And instead of seeing that that's just who he is, I mean, we knew he was on a top TV show for 14 years. That was like in the top 5. People act like, oh, this horrible man. Well, why did you watch that?
Yeah.
Such a hard, or when they say that he's a loser or dumb, I'm like, who else's name have you known since you're 10?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's attacking him and it's irrational, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's been right from the moment he stepped into power, they've just been absolutely ripping him. But he's almost like Teflon, nothing sticks at all. He's just riding it out completely. He's got good people around him. One of my favorites is Kaylee. She's unbelievable.
Yes. I know. Well, you know what? She goes armed with facts, and facts win.
Of course they do. And that's what will win through right now. Because all of their stuff right now, like I've got some very powerful people behind the scenes, and they're not happy with what I'm saying. But and they said, next you'll be saying there's children in underground tunnels. I go, well, if there is, I'll be talking about it. He said, well, you don't want to be going down that one. I went, well, if there's truth, then I'll be exposing it.
Right.
He said, no, they might come after you. I've gone, great. I don't mind that one little bit.
Me too. People keep, are you ever going to go back? Well, you know what? I'd rather tell the truth and have people that want to hear it follow me. You know, and I went through enough years. I moved to Hollywood at 23, and it was shortly in the 90s, and it was before the I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a big Michael Ovitz, and then when they took down CAA and took it from him and everything, there was a big the gay mafia stories about Hollywood. And you know, it was like, yeah, it'd been going on for decades, but for the first time, these people were running the show, openly running the show. So, you know, we did one on CAA and the entire what they built over there in Century City. It's, to me, Century City makes me feel the same way when I drive by the UN. Is whatever's going on there is from the bottom of its core bad. And I noticed that when I started seeing, like I said, I started seeing that the most talented people that really earned it couldn't get jobs. I mean, people that had won Emmys in the 80s, you know, suddenly if they were white and a man above 50, there was no way they were getting a job. But somebody who got some scholarship to AFI for a 5-week directing program, who's maybe an Asian lesbian who's outspoken about transgender issues, is now directing an episode of Madam Secretary. And this was happening, and nobody would, and everyone was too scared to say anything, you know, and they're having their GLAAD awards and their you know, transgender reading hours, and then Netflix has really been push, and it's just that they're confusing the masses through Hollywood. You know, when I see who they're making famous, you know, who they're, and it's funny, when I started working at I didn't really know much, but I did see from very early on that there was something very nefarious about the whole Kardashian show. You know, not just that the father was the guy who got OJ off and then died, and then now the family is famous for being famous and rich, but it was also more a matter of conditioning society to accept that that was the ideal. These kids who didn't earn it, but were, you know, not prostituting, well, in some ways, but they were, I started to feel like E was like a vehicle for the complete and total dismantling of anything that had to do with class or God or earning it or worth. You know, it became so over the top, and then like the Real Housewives and this and that. They were glorifying the least attractive things in the world, and it went over hook, line, and sinker. And then look what's happening to the sports. Well, the reason it's happening is because LeBron James is a dedicated Luciferian who believes that they don't believe in God, they believe that they are God. And people don't realize that their deity is planet Earth, because apparently they own planet Earth. So it's not, and this has been conditioned. All you have to do is also these hip hop guys that, you know, the they're out there, Ice Cube and all them, the Public Enemy people, they're out there, you know, blaming white people and white cops, when like in the 90s, when Public Enemy and the whole Ice Cube, you know, fuck the police, you know, their songs, they're singing on MTV in the 90s, Snoop Dogg's album comes out. Well, when I was a freshman in college, all I heard was rap music telling me that, you know, they kill each other, it's all about drugs and hoes and gang violence. And I mean, that's what all the you know, I went to NYU, so there's all kinds of people, but that's what we were listening to. I mean, on replay. And now all these years later, if I walk down the street and 3 young kids that look like, you know, they're from a rap video are you know, looking at me and checking me out, and I think, oh my God, I'm the bad person, you know, and I'm the bad, well, you told me to be scared of you. You told me all you care about is hoes and crack, you know, and now I'm walking down the street and I'm thinking, I hope they're not looking at me like that. But, you know, they deny the conditioning and then turn around and blame who? Cops? God, if I would do anything to have cops here right now, but there are no cops in New York. And I live on the east side in Midtown. And what's scary here is there's a lot of elderly people up here that are alone, and they're walking around with their masks and their gloves. And it's so heartbreaking. And there's no cops. My friends keep being followed home, and they know it. Everyone's like, stay safe, be careful. In Midtown Manhattan in 2020.
Wow.
What is going on? And, you know, and it's really, really, we are at a point where, oh, and they're eating outside thing. Yeah, they're eating outside. Why? They emboldened all the homeless people and criminals they let out of Rikers, that you're eating outside. They come up and take stuff off your plate, for real. And I mean, I'm in literally what used to be the safest neighborhood probably in Midtown. I tell elderly people in my building, like, if you need something, tell me, I'll go get it. And that is how pathetic it is. And I believe that we're right down the street from the culprit, which is the UN, the Council of Foreign, in my opinion, the Council of Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, the Brookings Institute. I mean, any think tank. And then the problem is, I don't know if this is where you are too, these are non-government organizations. So not only are they soliciting donations from people that think that they're doing good, you know, which they're not, but they're soliciting donations for programs that really don't exist.
Sure.
And, you know, and that's what happened with Thrive New York City, which is what my book's about, because, you know, had de Blasio and his wife actually used that $850 million for the mentally ill and homeless 2.5 years ago, it was a fake program. There was no help. There was nothing built. It was fake. And you know what's funny? I got a psychiatrist in New York. First of all, there was no mental health professionals. It was Charlene McCrae ran the whole thing. She has no mental health experience. The only experience I saw that she had was working for Dinkins. So, and then they're doing this Thrive New York. They're signing up everyone they can. They're going up to homeless people in the park, all over, getting their names, their information, writing it down, and putting it in as if they're helping that person. Well, that's the person last time they saw that person. And it happened, and it happened. Well, if that had been done then now we wouldn't have, I mean, there's gotta be 100,000 homeless people on the streets with either mental illness or addiction, or that were let go from Rikers. They have nowhere to go. You know, they really don't. And people still aren't looking at it. People still aren't thinking, well, how is this possible with all the money? And like you said about the transferring the money, well, you and I and Cirsten know that the Fed is a total farce. And again, same exact people. So, I mean, I'm at a point where in New York City, we are completely, and Cuomo has the balls yesterday to come out and say that New York City is Trump's fault. And then,
yeah,
you can't go there. And because Trump is defunding New York, DC, Seattle, and Portland, that he better have an army before he comes into New York.
But he's not defunding. He's not giving the money to Cuomo and de Blasio so it can disappear. Like $850 million disappeared, and nobody is saying anything. Everyone knows that none of that money went to the homeless and mentally ill. Everyone. John Stossel did a whole thing on it. It's not debatable, but they've never been held accountable. Which now is the real issue, is being held accountable. And I think the reason that most people, I've been really invigorated, especially because Charlie, your show, and working more with people that are looking for solutions. We're at a point where I saw you the other day, a little exasperated about when are people going to wake up? And that's why I'm doing this. And you know,
I had a little tantrum.
Yeah, but I mean, what can the average person do?
You have to start. Like I started, Mel, with 37 subscribers, and you just have to start and do something small every day. The one thing I've noticed with Bill Gates and with a lot of these charities, Bill Gates likes to be seen to be handing out money, but if you look where it goes to one of his charities.
Right.
Then one of his charities gives it to another charity, and it's a bit like the Delaware company formation. It's a circle of five, and it just keeps going round in circles, and it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go to anybody, but it gets at the public think that he's giving money all the time. And it's not, it's going from one of Bill Gates' foundations to another, to just going around in circles. It's never ever getting to the real cause of where it's needed. But it just looks great from the outside, but nothing ever gets spent on real issues. And what you just said just now confirms exactly that the money's just not going where it should be. It's on the television, on the media, it's like, oh, he's given a load more money. And you look at where he's given it to one of his own foundations. Then suddenly that foundation gives it to another one of his. And then he's getting 5 times the publicity, going around 5 different foundations and back to square one again. It's never got anywhere.
And he doesn't pay taxes on it. And basically, he also, you know, because he invests in Monsanto and Moderna and all these companies, so then he's just profiting off of it. But so are his whole gang.
Yeah.
Like, I call it, there was the article, The Good Club, The Good Group. And that good group you can trace almost all of this back to them. And, you know, that's the problem. Even, I guess, Bezos started selling off a lot of his Amazon stock. And you know, look at who made money during COVID.
Yeah.
And the goal is, in my opinion, from what I'm seeing, is to get rid of everything but these big companies.
Yeah.
You know, I never understood during the lockdown why Home Depot was open, but my corner store hardware was closed.
Yeah.
And I kept being like, this is ridiculous. Or even worse was, why was CVS open and the little mom and pop pharmacy closed?
Yeah.
This is about them. This is about those corporations and big pharma. And you know, what I was annoyed about is the other night on that interview with Trump and Laura Ingraham, he said that there was an invisible power bigger than that we don't know about, right? Why can't we know about it? You know, I mean, like, why wasn't the next question, who are you talking about? You know, and I'd like, since you know, I'd like to know what Trump thinks of the UN, because when I look at everything, you can easily, and I'm talking Bill Gates is the biggest donor to the Lucis Trust, along with his depopulation pal, Ted Turner, who created CNN to be the CIA wing of information, and people still don't get it. You know, anyone that watches CNN or MSNBC, I have to say in my mind, you never even question. They must be so brainwashed that they never question. Ted Turner is an avowed Satanist who also believes in depopulation. I have done a lot of research in those Georgia Guidestones. I believe that they're his, and even if they're not, that's what he thinks. And that 500 million population thing is reoccurring with the UN. And, you know, and like we've all said, the worst part of evil in this situation is that they're doing evil by convincing people they're doing good.
Yeah.
You know, and if that isn't the Satan.
Well, you Mel, it's a real privilege to have you on here, because you've worked with Donald Trump, and so you can tell people firsthand what he's like as a person, because the media have put him out there as a bad person. Didn't love him, didn't hate him at the start, but I grew to love and respect him. Number one, he's a very, very good businessman. Number two, he was put in this job because everybody knows he's an egotist and a narcissist. He's the perfect man for the job, absolutely handpicked, and he loves a challenge. That's just in his DNA.
Right.
And if you can imagine, right, 2 naughty little boys, him and Vladimir Putin are like the top boys in the playground right now, and they're having a lot of fun because they're destroying the bullies in the school.
Right. And you know what? That is who he is. When this first happened, when he started to run, before he even went down the escalator, I was in Palm Beach. My parents live in Palm Beach, and I was in Palm Beach, and I heard he was probably going to run and everything, and I thought immediately he's going to win. And then as soon as he announced, I put out like a thing saying, you might not know the real Donald Trump, but I worked for this man, and this is how he treated his employees. Nobody quits Mar-a-Lago ever. It is an excellent place to work.
Yeah.
And you know, and they were trying to push him on the visas. Well, it's a seasonal job, and if you want to come back and you did a good job, he'll have you back and he'll take care of you. And you know, the other thing is, he did expect excellence, but you should expect that of yourself.
Sure.
Was what I got, you know, out of his whole thing. I saw a girl get fired because she was rude to somebody on the phone. Well, because you're representing him, but also you're representing a level, a quality, a level, a standard. So when he gets rid of people, I think, well, that's what you do when you're a good businessman and somebody is hurting the quality of your operation by, you know, disrespecting themselves, by being, you know, whatever they're doing. So, I mean, it's hard to believe because, like I said, if you meet the man, everything that he says that they turn around to be like evil, he's kidding half the time.
Yeah.
He just has a sense of humor. My father has that too. It's like he just says whatever he says. But at the end of the day, if your mom's in the hospital and you go to him and you can't pay for it and you work at Mar-a-Lago, and he finds out, there's a good chance he's going to help you, you know? And he has done a lot of things behind the scenes. As much as he's a egomaniac, narcissist, whatever, I know many people, including people that worked at Mar-a-Lago, that when things were really, really bad, he stepped in and took care of them. And, you know, there's many stories like that. And he's loved on Palm Beach Island. What bothers me a lot is that Epstein was not part of his group.
No.
They were never friends. He
Yeah.
paid to come to Mar-a-Lago. And I was there around that time. And Epstein was banned, but not just banned, he was hated by Trump 20 years ago. And they're still trying to connect it. And again, another person who likes playing God was Epstein, who might still be Epstein. And they are totally lying and hiding his connections to Bill Gates.
Yeah.
It is a complete farce. He was an investor, Moderna, with Soros. Moderna, I believe, was the plan, if not them. But I think this whole COVID, like Rockefeller said, to get the New World Order started, we need one crisis, one big crisis. Well, the crisis was the pandemic. Yeah. And you know, a lot of people have never even heard of Agenda 2030. Agenda 2030 is flowery language and all sounds positive. If you break it down, it means we want to decide who's allowed on this earth, not God, we. Just like the eugenics. It all goes back to eugenics, and for some reason people don't seem to understand and don't seem to care. If people just dug a little in, they'd find out about Operation Paperclip. They'd find out that, you know, this science is not new. This Gates Foundation is basically, as with NASA, as we know, was the people from Operation Paperclip that came over. They were pals with his dad, which people don't realize. Bill Gates was already in. And they come over. A lot of this is Nazi eugenics. Just try it again. And Cirsten and I were talking about that. A lot of people don't even get the true horrors of Epstein Island because, and I did one on the 10 Island Challenge, which to me, I'm sure you know because of what you've done with the money moving and stuff. But the Clintons and Branson and the Good Club basically went in and stole 10 islands and paid off their government corrupt officials, and they're stealing those kids too. And they have this whole, the Epstein Ranch, the whole baby making aspect of it and the human trafficking. Netflix again has totally pulled the wool over the eyes of the human, the American people at least, and the world, to think that Epstein Island was about teenage girls. Epstein Island was not in any way about teenage girls. No. Okay, so people can justify, oh, on Epstein Island they flew young girls there and got them drunk and high and then had orgies. Not even close. It was about, again, manipulating humanity, transhumanism. Those little kids, a lot of little kids. I mean, there's also, they say, like the John of God, that the Epstein Ranch in New Mexico was a baby making ranch. Like they've done to the Marshall Islands. Well, some of these babies are going to be used as research. You know, it's to know what happened with Mengele at Auschwitz is to know what kind of research they've been doing on human beings under the guise of their own greed. Yeah. This isn't about humanity. And the whole transhumanism thing is real. And I don't know why, and all you have to do, transhumanism equals Aryan nation. You know, it's a superior race. Aryan nation doesn't mean white, it means superior. You know, so I'm not sure why, especially my generation, which is the 40s generation, it's like you saw your kids being brainwashed. I don't have kids, but I have nieces, and I have other kids in my family. We saw this happening, you know, and everyone just kind of sat there. It was like everyone acted like they were helpless, or if you said something. But when did anyone ever think transgender story hour in elementary school was something positive? And the whole concept of pedophilia, there's nothing involved with love and doing that to children. You know, it's not about that. And the way that they've whitewashed it, and now whitewashing Epstein Island, it's like people are so far away from the truth. The truth is that Epstein Island was about everything that your deepest, most evil nightmares are about. And nobody's getting that, and the media's covering it up. And that whole Netflix thing, people be like, oh, I saw what happened on Epstein Island. I'm like, you have no idea what happened on Epstein Island.
Yeah.
I have something to add to what she has to say about Epstein Island. I do believe that Epstein Island was also the place that they used to liquidate all the drugs and sort them out and distribute the drugs, definitely distribute the drugs. And definitely I'm responding to your comments, which I know you never read, Charlie, but when I brought up the fact that the last storm, Laura and Marco, were manipulated, basically they were created. Again, she mentioned NASA's in on it, of course, the Department of Defense, because they put out stuff that they know how to control the hurricane, how to direct it, how to move it with lasers. We have the Department of Agriculture that wants to raise the food prices, that are destroying crops. The storms always end up in the Kansas or somewhere where they have a lot of crops. They always have floods there. It's nonstop. And it's all manipulated.
Right.
And that's what Dorian was, the same thing. Dorian, they lost control of. They created Dorian, but the Patriots got hold of it, and they held that storm over the Bahamas. And what was washing up on the shores of Melbourne, Florida, was packets that said cocaine on it, thick packets of cocaine. So the CIA has lost a lot of drugs, which is what they do. Drug running, human trafficking, gun running, of course, events, all of the events, Parkland, whatever, they have multiple shooters and one patsy. I do believe that that guy Cruz at Parkland never fired a shot. He never fired a shot. It was multiple shooters, just like the Vegas shooting, multiple shooters. And, they have their hands in the weather warfare. And of course, the mainstream media, all controlled by the Council of Foreign Relations, that's linked to the EU, the UN. And yes, Trump is trying to defund the UN as we speak.
Could we do a part 2 to this next week? Would
Yes.
that suit with you? Because this has been an explosive part 1.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be really, really good if you're happy with that to do a part 2 next week.
I would love it.
I need to say something. Isn't she amazing? She's a total talent. I mean, I don't see any flaws. She's amazing. That's why I'm a talent finder. She's amazing. I like to sit back and watch her go because she's amazing. She's like Jean, but in a girl form, and like everything. She covers everything. She's going to be a huge star. Please follow her on, Impulsive Woman on Twitter. Yeah. And she's on my channel on every Sunday. Yeah, and we locked it down to the 11 o'clock hour, and we have now 13. We're doing number 14 this week. So come and catch up on the videos. We have a playlist. Also, if you really want it, you can go on the truecw.tv and you can get all of them there, because I make playlists of those 2. And then once we get George Webb in, that'll be 3, and then I can relax because they can take over. See, I don't even have to talk. It's fantastic when you can kind of find this much talent. Those 2, Jean and her, are amazing. Amazing.
Well, one other thing. Thank you, and you're amazing too. I found you in the very beginning. Literally, you were one of the first I found. And also, Charlie, the other thing I like is a lot. I'm very into God. I'm a Jew that believes in the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses being my religion. I read the same thing every year, year after year. I'm also Italian. I have a lot of thoughts. I read everything. but I'm a big fan of God.
Yeah.
And when I started last summer, I drove cross country. I had a time and I had a break, and I had to drive my car back from LA to New York. And it was a very spiritual time. And that was when there was a lot of new people coming out. Cirsten I listened to every day, and a bunch of other people. And I kept feeling like I had to do this. I had to keep going. It was more than me. It was bigger than me.
Same.
And I was driving from LA, leaving LA for good. I was driving from LA, and I decided on 4th of July I was myself, to go to the Grand Canyon and take my Bible and my Torah, because I take both. And I go and I drive down there, and I stop in Bakersfield to get some gas, and bam, giant earthquake. And I knew right away it was not an earthquake.
Yeah.
Blowing up those dumbs underneath. It went, and I thought, I'm on a mission from God. I mean, not to be too Blues Brothers about it, but I mean, it's like a modern mission. But from that thing on, things kept happening. And to this day, I just feel like every time that I speak out, I'm doing a service for humans to like, go back, look at God, look at reality, look at how this ends. This game has been played before. Just this time, God's going to win because we have a better team. And so that's really where I started when I felt that earthquake in Bakersfield, and I knew about the dumbs from the Q map and everything. And I knew, because I'd been in earthquakes, that this was no earthquake. It was like multiple shakes over time, 10 minutes. That's not how it goes.
Sure.
And from that moment forward, I really have not given up my need to like say to people, wake up. We can't let this happen because we're all we got.
We'll go into that more next week, which will be absolutely brilliant to do it again.
One thing to say, Gene, you're a big boy. You can go on to Charlie's show yourself because mommy's really busy. Okay.
Thank you so much, Charlie. You're a real hero.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Thumbs up.
Hi, it's Justin, and I hope you're enjoying my dad's videos. Make sure to share this video with family and friends, like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified for all my dad's new videos. My social media will be tagged down below so you can follow it. And just remember, Jesus loves you.